Welcome to this special edition of the AmeriCorps Connections podcast. I'm Nikki Fiacco, the host of the AmeriCorps Connections podcast. I'm excited to share a special partnership with 250 and Beyond, Our American Story, to share a series of short stories from AmeriCorps alums about what service looks like in their communities today. These voices help amplify the spirit of service and remind us that across this country, people continue to show up for one another each and every day. So what is 250 and Beyond? 250 and Beyond, Our American Story is a national initiative dedicated to making service to others visible and valued in all its forms. By reflecting on our nation's history and elevating stories today to inspire the future, we aim to realize a vision of a nation united through service. Led by a coalition of leading service organizations, 250 and Beyond is a call to action, honoring our past, celebrating our present, and inspiring the future, helping us respect our differences and transcend our divisions. For all of those national service and AmeriCorps members out there, let's keep getting things done. I hope you enjoyed this series. Catherine, thank you so much for volunteering to be part of this 250 and Beyond special co-branded series with the AmeriCorps Connections podcast. And your AmeriCorps year just ended, so congratulations. Welcome to the alumni group. But today we're here to talk about how you serve in your community, and it might be an extension of your service year, but it might be something completely different. So, Catherine, I want you to take it away, and let's talk about what service and community means to you right now.
My name is Catherine, and I am from the San Francisco Bay Area, and I work for the National Coalition Against Prescription Drug Abuse in my year of service. They are a harm reduction organization based in Northern California in the San Francisco Bay Area. And for me, that was the kind of particular service I wanted to do. I was doing harm reduction work with other sister organizations in our local community long before I even thought of being a Vista. I'm personally in recovery and have saved a life I've seen lives saved through the harm reduction efforts of clean needles and Naloxone distribution firsthand, people who I love. And so I volunteered with other organizations. And so when I decided to go back to school and get my master's degree, it was really a time where I could really dedicate to service. So my master's degree is in public health. And I really wanted to come out of my schooling with also boots on the ground work that I could then turn into the next step in my career. I've had a 30-year tech career and went back to school because I was kind of burned out very burned out on it. I never expected to be doing that for 30 years. So my undergrad from the late 90s is actually in human services, social counseling, and social work. So this was always kind of where I wanted to land. I just took a very weird detour into tech. And so had a series of incidents where I felt really burned out. And so decided to apply for my master's, got into a master's program and I can do a year of service with AmeriCorps. I'd gotten in 2001 in my last year of my undergrad, I had gotten to a final interview and gotten an opportunity, but had to turn it down. Just logistically, it wasn't going to work for me. So I already knew what AmeriCorps was. I'd already kind of been through the process. And so I went on and I kind of looked around at what the service offers were and found PHI and the organizations and the work they were doing felt most meaningful to me. So I got put in touch with them and went through the recruitment process and landed with the National Coalition Against Prescription Drug Abuse, which was founded by a mother who lost her son to overdose. So I felt really connected to the work because it was so meaningful to her moving forward. We had a bumpy start. Beginning of my service year was also the beginning of the new administration pretty much. And we had a big delay in my onboarding. And then we had another possibility as budgets were happening that we may not have been able to get to my end of service, which as of recording this was 72 hours ago. So when you said that was a new alumni, really am it literally this week. And so what I've been able to do with my background in technology is bring all the back-end technical services to a more modern experience. And so that was really meaningful to me. So being able to take this very small organization, which is completely volunteer run, and be able to bring their website into the modern day, start working on translating their website into multiple languages so we can reach more people, being involved in their community outreach and building naloxone kits and all the things I was able to do for this last year was really meaningful to me because I've seen firsthand how this saved lives. And it's not as theoretical for me. I mean, I have a friend who was saved from an overdose by naloxone that someone I actually now have a working relationship with actually gave him, and so the work was very meaningful. This was always something that I wanted to get back to. So a little bit different, but being able to take my lived experience in recovery, take my lived experience in seeing harm reduction work, and take my professional experience and kind of meld them into my year of service. It's been really, really meaningful. Not to say this year wasn't probably the most challenging year of my professional life. We got thrown a lot of curveballs during my year of service. It's been wild, but what that has made me is more passionate about the work, not less. I felt that my work was way more meaningful in this time than it would have been if all the chaos in our world hadn't been happening, because we had to work through a lot just to get our naloxone distribution boxes out, get naloxone into the hands of the community that maybe a couple of years ago wouldn't have had. But that made me more passionate because it felt like my work had more meaning to the people who were getting it, because they were not being seen as human in a lot of ways. And that's always been a problem. Stigma has always been a problem in the population they served for the alums. So being able to be a person on the ground in this very uncertain time for all the organizations that we worked with in my year of service made it more meaningful, and not to say less stressful, but definitely more meaningful. I would say the biggest thing that we heard during our year of service is we had a couple of people who came to us and said, the naloxone you gave me saved somebody's life. It really reinvigorated and reinforced for me what I was doing, because you can run into so many roadblocks. There's so much stigma around what I do, the areas I particularly work in. People who use drugs should just be able to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and stop. That's what a lot of people think, and they don't understand all this social determinants of health that got them there in the first place. And so just to hear my friends say, thank you for training me on this. Thank you for giving me the test strips. Thank you for giving me that. And to hear that, to come back and hear that and say that someone's life got saved from that made all the stress of the year I had worth it. Because by that point we had not gone through the lockdown, but I'd gone through all this stuff in the beginning of the year. And we get told no a lot of times. So I say the majority of my year, I heard no. And so to hear yes, that made a difference was really, really made my entire year of that. And so that really reinforced that what I do is hard. Breaking stigma, no matter what you do, is hard, but it's worth it, because that one person got to go home from the desert that may not have if I hadn't taken the time to say, hey, friends, I know you all are probably going to have a really good time, quote unquote. Let me make sure you all come home safe, and have that be something that came to fruition was probably the most meaningful piece of my year. And it's the most meaningful piece of the work. Harm reduction.
Yeah. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was just thinking how there's so many pockets of community service and volunteerism and the ways that we support our communities. And I think, to your point, the stigma of supporting folks who are either trying to recover or just trying to limit or whatever they might be trying to do, just trying to live, get through this crazy, crazy life that we're in, right? It sounds like your experience, not just because it was a national service year, but because your community was able to reflect back to you that what you're doing is helping us and what you're doing is making an impact. And in fact, what you're doing saved a life during this time. So I want to just breathe into that a little bit of that's hard work in and of itself. That's advocacy. That's confidence of saying, I want to step into this role of also being in recovery and supporting folks who are in recovery, and recognizing that the community that I'm in might not necessarily support this work. So kudos to you for leaning in. So if you think about that kind of on that meta view, where you are doing that one-on-one service, or maybe not one-on-one, but you are kind of doing that grassroots, in case anybody needs anything, here's some tools. What are a few just, I don't know, reflections, words, what does that mean to your soul? What does that mean to you as a perpetrator of service and community engagement? Big question. Good question. What is big question?
I've got an answer for you, because my path to recovery was through harm reduction. It wasn't going to treatment. It wasn't going a traditional path to recovery. And I think for me, that wasn't an option, because I was what you would call a highly functioning addict. I had a full-time job. I was doing good in school, but I had an out of control party lifestyle. And so for me, I didn't see it as a problem. I didn't. I do now. I did a lot of risky things, but just by the grace of the universe, the grace of God, whatever you want to call it, I'm still alive. I think I have such a different connection to the harm reduction work than I would say a lot of people are in various forms of recovery. So I did harm reduction before I even realized what it was in my own journey. So to hear echoed back that the work I'm doing because of my own journey is helping other people get to theirs, whether that's just reducing the harmful things, making sure they're taking care of themselves, or which is outside the scope of our organization, but more with the volunteer work I did before, helping them seek treatment if that's what they wish. And so for me, I think the biggest thing I got out of my year of service was that my particular path to recovery was valid. So coming into a harm reduction organization where they see this path as valid was very validating to my soul and made me be more open about my recovery. I wasn't shy about it, but I wasn't as vocal as I am now after my year of service to be able to say, yeah, this was my path to recovery. And it's a lot of other people's path to their brand of recovery that works for them. And there's nothing wrong with that. So what I got is a lot of self-empowerment in helping other people and hearing that what I'm doing is also, you walk in and you hand somebody Naloxone hoping they're never going to need to use it.
Mm-hmm.
You hand someone a fentanyl test strip and hope that they use it. So you have a couple different lanes you swim in when you do harm reduction, right? So you have a couple different lanes you swim in, but the overarching thing for me was my recovery was valid. My path to recovery was valid.
Yeah. And Catherine, as we wrap up, I want to just say a common thread for folks is that word empowerment. And whether you're acknowledging somebody for their addiction that they're trying to either recover from or get through or just survive, or folks that are just looking for food security, somewhere to place their head on a pillow in a warm spot, or whatever it might be, whatever it might be, that empowerment word, I think, I don't know, we're talking about 250 and beyond. Our country is 250 years old. I listened to an amazing documentary about the revolution and how our founding fathers, while they are not perfect in one way at all,
Nope.
they put together this experiment, right? And it's been 250 years and we have had bumps in the road and we have made mistakes and we have been horrible and we've been brilliant. And we're hoping that 250 and beyond, that there is a 250 and beyond, right? And I feel like the word empowerment and community are two important themes, important things that we need to continue with. So
Yeah,
as we wrap, can you just give us a quick wrap on that?
I think community is so vital, and that was so vital to my year of service, knowing that I was helping a specific community that didn't get help very often. I was going through my paperwork trying to find something in my box of memories, and I have a typed letter from Washington, D.C. when I was 12 years old. I had written to the government to talk about Brian White was the first publicly young kid with HIV, about how he had the right to go to school. So I've been doing this kind of advocacy work all my time. My mom was a nurse, so she did her advocacy work. My dad was an attorney. He did his advocacy work. And so I was raised around this. But what I feel is that's so different than what I was doing as a kid, because we all at least saw each other as human. And I think we need to get back to that. So let's go. First, meet me at a corner with a random homeless person because it's just who I am, right? I always tell people I'm not the person who's just going to hand the guy $1. I want to hear his life story. It's just been ingrained in me. And if you ask me what I wanted to do when my mom said it was going to be a social worker or a teacher. So because of my big heart, is what she would always say to people. Not really. I kind of went all over the place. My tech kind of took me on another level. Then I went back to social work, and now really wanting to keep working in this arena. Finding it hard to move forward with that in this current climate. So I kind of put a pin in it for now.
Yeah.
But that is still my end game, is to hopefully continue the work I'm doing and everything. You need to have a heart. You need to have a heart. And it's also the double-edged sword. And all of us with hearts have tender ones. And this work is hard. And the ones who care have the tender hearts who get burned out quickly. And you have to find that, you have to find the balance in the work. And so thankfully, that's the other thing my year of service taught me, that self-care when doing this kind of work is vital.
Yeah.
Well, and the great thing is we also had that conversation before we started. But I think the big thing is we have to find the humanity in all people, not just people like us.
Catherine, thank you so much for sharing your quick snippet of service, and please continue doing what you're doing. And welcome to National Service alums. And
thank you.
We're a very oddly tight and small community, even though it seems like, where is everybody? You'll find us. So thank you again for being part of this special series. Thank you 250 and Beyond for supporting and co-branding and doing the special series with the AmeriCorps Connections podcast. And we'll have another amazing alum coming up soon. Thank you so much.